So I have two pieces in this show. I have this one here and one in the middle room that's called color wheels that you can see as you move around. And I was thinking about this. I've been painting now for almost 20 years. And this is kind of a second career for me. So that's pretty cool. I started out as a teacher of the deaf and segued through all sorts of things. And here I am now doing this. So I like to work in a series, and my first series that I did was a Merritt Parkway series. And I like to use a series as subject matter, and then I can do all sorts of other things within it. I used to do pastels, I like oils, I have painted on copper and steel hubcaps, and it's just a lot of fun. So I've done other series, and what I have here is the series I've been currently working on. I think when I did still life in the beginning, when I started painting a lot, I was attracted to florals. Some people think, oh, how sweet florals, but to me, the subject matter is rich with a lot of things. It's rich with color, it's rich with opportunity for compositions, and it has very sensuous lines, which I like, and they're very malleable, and you can do wonderful things with them. So this painting, so now I'm using flowers and plants for my muse, if you will, and I will work on all sorts of different surfaces. So this is on board, and I like to experiment. So on this board, underneath this oil is watercolor. And I will make areas of, so here I did light blue watercolor and I just put it on, and then I arranged everything. Then I put the oil on top of it, and I took a squeegee, like a squeegee, and put darker oil on top of the lighter watercolor and made the shapes by cleaning out the oil, revealing underneath the lighter color. And after that, so I did the whole thing, and then I did a lot of hand painting. So I am a compositional artist. I think above anything, before I paint anything, I already know what I'm going to do in terms of the composition. Because I believe for almost everything, if you don't have a good composition, it doesn't matter how good your apple looks or how bright your colors are, it's not going to turn out that well, because our brains are wired to prefer certain shapes and harmonies, and if you can get in on that and put that into your painting, generally things will be successful. So anyway, the other thing I really like about painting, I figured this out recently, is I like the puzzle. If anybody does puzzles, you have to figure things out. With painting, I don't do the same thing over and over again. I think, and I've thought about that. If I'm successful with this, I should do it each one in a different color, and I'll just do it again and again. But I get bored, and I think it's fun when you paint, because when I paint, I put something down and I stand back and consider it, so I'm not fast. But I'm working on the puzzle of what is going to complete the painting to bring forth some sort of, I used to call it magic, but it's really something that is going to make the painting appealing and make people want to look at it and maybe evoke a feeling or something. So the puzzle for me then is how to work the composition so that will happen, how to work the colors so that will happen. So anyway, so I have this other one I brought. This one I'm working on. Oh, I brought this. This was what I just brought a print of the Merritt Parkway to give you an idea of what I do. I will not always stay exactly in the same style. Some of my work is more abstracted, and some of it is more closer to a realistic scene. Once again, I don't like to stay in the same place because I get bored. This is not quite finished, but it is. I'm working on this. It's almost finished. What's really fun about this is it's on this really cool board, and it's a aluminum composite board, and it's white. If you peel it off, I had a corner peel there. It's nice and white. So if you put translucent color on that, the light goes through the translucent paint, bounces off the white, comes back out at you, and actually you get luminance, real luminance from light and not a pigment in your painting. This, I was going to talk about progression, but right now what this is really fun is I have a composition of a high horizon line and this shape with this shape and a slight triangular shape here, but inside of this shape here I can make chaos. I take a squeegee and make all these fun patterns, and it's like finger painting and go woo woo woo. And then I go back in and I find, I colorize my shapes, I add things, I make it lighter here, and maybe I'll drive the darker here, I wipe out or I put in, and I have a lot of fun doing that. So probably I'm going to be working on something like this soon. I brought in something that is actually framed that I did recently in the past 6 months. This is soft. You don't have the big amount of contrast that you have with this. And here I was trying to make it soft and very, very subtle. And once again, the flower shapes. I had a hard time doing this because it was so subtle. I had to stand way back to see what the lines that I was doing. This is an oil. This is just straight oil. I did start out with a squeegee for some of these lines, but there's a lot of hand painting on this. So I do have, to give you an idea of what I do, I brought in some cards. If people want to pass these around, if you need one for some reason, you can keep it, but otherwise pass them around. And I think I'm ready for questions. If you have any questions, yes.
So could you talk about the merit picture? Because it seems to me you were from the driver's point of view, or a driver's point of view.
Yes, I am.
So did you take a picture as you were driving, or is a passenger?
Maybe. I have thousands of pictures of the Merritt Parkway. I tried to get my husband to do it and my son, and you say, okay, take the picture now, and they'll go like, well, now? I'm like, now, right now. And they're like, well, now you're yelling. And so I did have a little method of taking photos, so yes.
All right, and then if I may, so you talked about the squeegee and about hand painting. Do you ever finger paint?
Not literally, but I do a lot of, I wear a glove when I paint, and I'll remove it with paper towel. So I like to put on paint and remove. It's really fun. And there's a lot of removal for this. And for this, I did this one a while ago. This is mostly applied, but I might have wiped away this blue here to make these lines here. So yeah, this is mostly applied. And this is ultramarine blue, which is a translucent paint.
One more question and I'm done. So in this picture, I won't find these flowers in nature with those colors, will I?
No, you will not.
Okay.
And so, because what I do is I take mostly my own floral photos, and I will throw them in, but not always. And I will throw them in Photoshop and enlarge them and move them around and look for a composition that I like. And then, so the painting in there, it has two colors, but with this I stripped the colors. I stripped it down to black and white, and I colorized it myself. I wanted to pick colors that were not found in a zinnia in a usual sense. And so, yeah. So, and this is a more stylized painting than some of my paintings. Yeah, so I was going after different colors with this, and also a sense of kind of crowding and sitting on one another.
Yeah.
And
As somebody who's grown flowers, and I
Yes.
recognize the zinnias,
Uh-huh.
I think the X factor is that you chose colors that are not zinnia colors.
I did, and I was going to talk about that, but I did, because really what I'm doing with these florals is it's all about the composition, the painting. It's not really about the flowers. It's, as somebody very astutely said recently, well, this painting is really more than flowers, and I'm like, yes it is. And anything that I paint, Merritt Parkway or flowers or landscapes, I've done a lot of landscapes, it's about the painting and the beauty, and things that I find interesting, and the puzzle of figuring it all out. Yeah. Yes?
On the aluminum that you just recently showed us, what's the paint on that? Is that an oil on that?
Yes, this is all oil. Although I will put watercolor on this panel too, very thinly, and I can put oil over it, which I did here, and then I spray it so it becomes archival. So if
The
you,
watercolor will stick to that?
it will. You don't want it too wet. And once it dries, you can go right out over it with oil. And if you take linseed oil and you rub off all the oil, the watercolor sits there. It's oil and water really don't mix. Very successful with this. Yeah.
One question.
Yes.
You said that it's a squeegee that you use, but it looks more like a palette knife. So is it a narrow squeegee?
It's a window squeegee.
Oh,
Gerhard Richter used a big, long rubber squeegee-like thing, and what you get with a squeegee is when if you put paint down, if you just put any paint down in colors and then you drag a squeegee over it, you get these beautiful things. You just get some really gorgeous accidents that happen. You can see it a little bit here. You don't see it here as much. I have some paintings where you really see some beautiful pull of the colors that you can't get with a brush or your hands or anything else. So it's really a cool tool to use for painting.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Cindy.
Thank you.